Picture this. Robert De Niro, the man, the legend, sitting back on his 82nd birthday, a Hollywood giant with Oscars, decades of respect, and an untouchable reputation. And then, what shows up at his doorstep? A fancy gift basket. Not just any basket, oh no. This one screams royal decree with a tag plastered in bold letters HRH, and here's the kicker. It wasn't from a studio, a longtime friend, or even a fellow Hollywood titan. It was from Meghan Markle. Yes, Meghan, the former actress who swapped Hollywood roles for tiaras, only to later claim she didn't want the palace life, but who still somehow can't seem to let go of the title that gave her global spotlight. She thought she was making a slick Hollywood move. Instead, she walked straight into humiliation. Inside this exclusive basket, overpriced wine, luxury trinkets, items that practically screamed Instagram flat lay. Around $90 homemade wine, $120 artisanal odds and ends. Stuff that might impress a micro-influencer, but Robert De Niro? Please. Hollywood insiders say the second De Niro clocked what it was, he dismissed it outright. No polite thank you, no subtle brush off, just a blunt, old-school Hollywood legend saying, I don't need this, I don't even want this. That wasn't rejection, that was a public execution of Meghan's little PR fantasy. Now let's be real, Meghan has been walking on the thinnest of tightropes ever since she and Harry ditched royal duties. She's been telling the world she wanted independence, freedom, a voice of her own, but has she really let go of the crown? Not one bit. That HRH tag on the basket, she's not supposed to use it anymore. But Meghan clings to it like it's her last lifeline to relevance. And this gift basket wasn't about kindness. It wasn't about De Niro's birthday. It was a desperate PR stunt, dressed up in ribbons and bows, and Hollywood saw it for what it was. Instead of saying happy birthday, the basket screamed, please, let me back in. Here's where it gets brutal. Meghan thought aligning herself with Robert De Niro, the universally respected Hollywood powerhouse, would automatically elevate her. She imagined whispers of, if De Niro's good with her, maybe she's still in the game. But De Niro doesn't play palace politics. He doesn't need to. He's the kind of man who defines Hollywood, not one who begs for approval from it. So instead of quietly ignoring the stunt, he rejected it so sharply that word spread. Fast. Hollywood fast. And that's when the mocking began. The industry turned Meghan's basket into a punchline. People called it a bribe in a basket. Social media roasted her homemade wine, and everyone was whispering about the ridiculousness of someone who insists she left royalty behind, yet still stamps HRH on luxury trinkets like it's a discount code. The gift didn't just flop. It exposed her. Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, Meghan's Hollywood dream isn't working. The Spotify deal? Gone. Netflix? Scaled back. Oprah's circle? Drifting. Even her birthday this year was met with silence, just her legal rep posting something bland while the world shrugged. That basket to De Niro wasn't about him, it was about her. It was about clawing back attention, validation, and a seat at Hollywood's table. But when he sent it back, the illusion shattered. Because when Hollywood's most respected voices stop applauding and start laughing, you're finished. Robert De Niro's rejection wasn't just a snub, it was a symbol. Meghan, once armed with global headlines, was now left holding nothing but an empty basket. It wasn't just about this one incident either. Insiders reveal Meghan has been sending similar baskets to producers, executives, and actors across town. And you know what? Nobody's biting. Some return them, some pass them to assistants, others just ghost her. Hollywood knows these aren't thank yous, they're fishing lines, desperate attempts to hook her name to someone relevant. And Hollywood isn't amused, because here's the thing, this isn't the royal bubble anymore. In LA, image is currency, and Meghan's looks desperate. When Meghan and Harry first came to Hollywood post-royal split, they had all the spotlight. People wanted to know what's next, the podcast, the Netflix series, the activism. She had big deals lined up, cameras rolling, her name everywhere. But then, the projects landed, and they fizzled. Spotify bluntly said her show wasn't sustainable. Netflix shrank from empire building to a handful of underwhelming attempts. The lifestyle shows, the children's content, the cooking ideas, none of it clicked. So Meghan leaned harder into the image game. HRH branding, fancy packaging, lavish baskets, hoping anyone would bite, but they didn't. And Robert De Niro's rejection didn't just expose that failure, it amplified it. The worst part? The story didn't stay quiet. It leaked fast. Not just the rejection, but the tone. The way De Niro allegedly said it. It wasn't a polite decline. It was the kind of blunt no that makes people smirk. And smirking is lethal in Hollywood, because once the laughter starts, you're no longer seen as powerful, you're seen as a joke. That's where Meghan is now. So, the laughter started, and it spread like wildfire. Assistants whispered, executives rolled their eyes, Hollywood parties buzzed with the joke of the week. Did you see Meghan's HRH wine? Imagine being reduced from royal glamour to late-night mockery in Beverly Hills kitchens. That's the level of damage we're talking about. Here's the cruel truth. Desperation smells. And once Hollywood picks up that scent, it's game over. Nobody wants to stand too close because desperation is contagious. Aligning with someone who's clearly grasping at straws? That's social suicide in this town. And Meghan? She's reeking of it. Celebrities who once might have posted support or defended her? Silent. No, thank you for the basket posts. No subtle happy birthday shoutouts back in her direction. Just cold silence. And in Hollywood, silence is louder than scandal. See, Meghan's entire strategy has been built on image. Not substance, not solid projects, but a cocktail of borrowed prestige, carefully staged photos, and endless branding. She's never stopped using royal imagery, even though technically she's not supposed to. She still leans on that HRH glow because without it, the shine dims fast. But Robert De Niro's rejection cracked that illusion wide open. Suddenly, it wasn't about Meghan carving her own path. It was about Meghan desperately begging for validation from someone who didn't need her, and who had the guts to say no. Here's what Meghan hasn't figured out. The rules in Hollywood aren't the rules of the royal bubble. In the palace, scandals can be buried under protocol. Titles carry weight even when the substance doesn't. But in LA, it's cutthroat. You can't fake it for long here. The second the projects flop, the second the spotlight shifts, your packaging looks like distraction. And that's exactly what Hollywood saw in her gift baskets. Not thoughtful gestures, not networking, just clumsy PR moves thinly disguised as generosity. And that's why De Niro's rejection hit like thunder. He didn't just decline, he made it known. A flat-out, unapologetic no. And that sent a signal through every corridor of Hollywood. Meghan's game isn't working anymore. This wasn't just one gift basket gone wrong. This was a reality check, and the industry listened. Think about the contrast. A few years ago, Meghan was everywhere. Oprah interviews, magazine covers, Time's most influential list. Big deals, big projects, big talk. Now, she's fading. The projects didn't stick. The public's attention drifted. Even her birthday was a non-event. The spotlight that once chased her now barely flickers, and when De Niro's rejection story leaked, it sealed the narrative. Meghan Markle, the Duchess who once shook the palace, is now just another Hollywood hopeful begging for attention and not getting it. And let's not forget the financial whispers. Reports have swirled for months about money being tight for Meghan and Harry. Spotify gone, Netflix shrinking. Rumors that Harry's memoir was their last big cash play. So why, critics asked, was she pouring hundreds of dollars into vanity gift baskets when her projects weren't even landing? To the public, it looked tone-deaf. To Hollywood, it looked insecure. Throwing money at branding without delivering substance? That's not power, that's panic. What De Niro did, by saying no, wasn't just about him. He became the unofficial voice of what everyone else was thinking. The unspoken truth no one wanted to post, no one dared to tweet. Meghan's brand isn't working anymore. And in Hollywood, reputation is everything. Once you're seen as desperate, once you're the butt of jokes, you're radioactive. Nobody wants to be the one defending you when you're spiraling. And that's where Meghan is now. And the fallout, it's already happening. Projects stalled, potential allies stepping back, public figures avoiding being photographed with her at events, people who once championed her story now quietly cutting ties. This wasn't just about one rejection. This was the moment the dominoes began to fall. Because the truth is, Meghan's royal connection was the engine that drove her Hollywood career. But that engine is sputtering. And the harder she tries to revive it through baskets, branding, or borrowed prestige, the more it highlights just how far she's fallen. Robert De Niro didn't just say no to a birthday basket, he delivered a reality check, one that echoed louder than any tabloid headline, one that spread faster than any PR spin, one that said no amount of wine, ribbons, or handwritten notes can buy your way back in. And the irony, Meghan wanted to use De Niro's name to climb back into Hollywood's inner circle. Instead, his rejection pushed her closer to being locked out entirely. From Duchess to desperate, from royal to risky, from spotlight to silence. And in Hollywood, nothing's harsher than being forgotten. The story of Meghan's basket disaster isn't just about one failed gesture, it's about the bigger picture. It's the culmination of years of trying to package image over substance, of banking on the glow of royalty instead of building something real. And Robert De Niro's rejection? It was the pin that popped the bubble. Remember when Meghan first entered the royal world? The fairy tale wedding, the global fascination, the fresh energy she and Harry brought to the monarchy? She had the world in the palm of her hand. Sympathy, curiosity, a platform that people were ready to cheer here for. But instead of building something solid, she leaned on packaging, carefully curated photos, high-end branding, with Love Meghan signatures that looked polished but felt hollow. And the public started noticing. The more staged it all felt, the less people connected. This is the part that stings the most. Meghan could have built something authentic. She had the sympathy of millions after stepping back from the royals. She had a story the world wanted to hear. She had attention, leverage, and goodwill. But instead of carving her own lane, she doubled down on being a duchess in exile. Everything was wrapped in royal branding. Every project had a glossy, overproduced feel. Nothing ever screamed authentic. Critics said it lacked depth. Fans drifted, and the projects, they fizzled. That HRH tag on the basket wasn't an accident. It's a pattern. Meghan keeps recycling royal symbols like she can't let them go. Even after being told not to use them, she sneaks them in. Why? Because she knows that without that branding, she's just another former actress in Hollywood. And Hollywood is overflowing with actresses. The HRH gives her distinction. But now, instead of elevating her, it's exposing her. Every time she uses it, it screams insecurity, not power. And Hollywood insiders weren't the only ones laughing. Social media pounced on the basket fiasco. Memes flooded timelines, bribe in a basket, jokes about HRH wine, eye rolls about her desperation. Once the internet turns something into a meme, it's out of your hands. And Meghan found herself at the center of an online storm she couldn't control. Instead of softening her image, the basket turned her into a punchline. Here's the part that cut the deepest. No one came to her defense. Not Oprah, not A-list friends, not fellow celebrities, not even influencers looking for clout. The silence was deafening. In an industry built on alliances, support, and mutual promotion, Meghan found herself standing alone. And when nobody speaks up for you, that silence speaks volumes. It doesn't just say you made a mistake, it says you've become a liability. This isn't London. There are no palace gates to protect her, no centuries-old institution to shield her from the fallout. Hollywood is brutal, and in this town, the rules are simple. Deliver or disappear. When the projects flopped, when the spotlight faded, Meghan tried to keep her image alive with baskets, branding, and borrowed prestige. But instead of reviving her reputation, it highlighted just how shaky it really was. Niro's rejection wasn't personal, it was professional. He saw through the packaging and he refused to play along. And in doing so, he said what everyone else was thinking. Insiders say Meghan's team scrambled after the story leaked. No statements, no clarifications, just silence. But here's the thing, sometimes silence does more damage than spin. The public read it as panic. Instead of looking confident, Meghan looked cornered. Instead of seeming like a woman in control, she looked like someone who had just realized her game was up. And Hollywood doesn't forgive panic, it punishes it. There's a reason people are quietly stepping away from her. Nobody wants to be photographed next to someone the industry sees as desperate. It doesn't matter who you are. If the scent of failure clings to you, people scatter. And right now, Meghan looks radioactive. She once sat beside Oprah. She once graced the cover of Time. But after the basket fiasco, even being in her orbit feels risky. That's the real humiliation, not just the rejection, but the fact that now people are actively avoiding her. The harshest irony of all, Meghan could have had it all. She had the sympathy, the spotlight, the backing of big platforms. She had every opportunity to turn her break from the royals into a powerful new chapter. But instead of building on that foundation, she tried to replicate the royal glow in Hollywood. She tried to repackage it, resell it, recycle it. And Hollywood isn't buying. So here we are. Meghan Markle, once the Duchess who shook Buckingham Palace, is now Hollywood's cautionary tale. The basket fiasco wasn't just a misstep, it was a turning point. It exposed the strategy, it revealed the desperation, it confirmed what the whispers have been saying for months. Meghan's brand isn't working, and Robert De Niro, with one blunt rejection, became the accidental messenger of that truth.